Ladies and gentlemen, if you'll check your mics and make sure they're blinking green.
Testing.
And we'll come to order. And I have, at the end of a bad cold, I'm struggling with a cough. So it won't interfere too much with the meeting. I've asked the clerk if he will chair the meeting, and he's graciously agreed to chair it. So if there's no objection from the board, I will have Mr. Vanderklok chair the meeting. Any objection? It's yours.
Okay, thank you. Prayer for guidance, Mrs. Skolma, would you lead us, please?
Sure. Lord, we thank you for the blessings of this day. We pray, Lord, for our citizens and for our government. We pray, Lord, for all those who are in authority over us. We pray, Lord, for our police department as they do their duties throughout the day, Lord. We pray that you will keep them safe. Pray for our fire department and for our citizens and for our staff. Be with the board as we meet tonight and as we make decisions. Give us wisdom for those decisions. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. We have Pledge of Allegiance. If you'd please stand and join me. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The minutes will indicate that all members of the board were present with the exception of Mr. Valerius. Motion would be in order to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Support.
Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
That is carried. Now we have communications, letters, and reports received for information. Is there anything there that any board member would like to comment on?
If I could, I actually have a question maybe for the sergeant. I notice tickets in the township are down, and I wondered if that correlated to safer driving habits, or...
Just when you get them when you can, in personnel. So that was a big vacation.
Looked like it was a trend over the years, so I was hoping we'd hear that everybody is driving much safer in town, obeying the speed limits and seat belts and stuff, but looks like you have a lot of great work going on, and keep it up.
Anything else? Otherwise, they will be received for information. Our next item on the agenda is public comment. We have 2 public comment periods. This is the first. And we ask that if you'd like to address the board, that you come and give us your name and your address. Please note that this first public comment is for comments relative to items that appear on tonight's agenda. So if there's anyone who'd like to address the board relative to items on tonight's agenda, please come to the podium, give us your name and your address, and address the board.
I'm back. Michael Bosch, 896 Fairwood Court. A couple items. On the consent agenda, item 8.6, the snow blower attachment and the brush, and then also 8.7, which is the 8th Avenue roof. I'm hoping that instead of just approving the consent agenda as is, we maybe discuss that. Some of the people that weren't at the services meeting might not know what's going on with the roof at 8th Avenue Park. There's a bid for $50,000 for steel roof, and that's very pretty, but currently it has architectural asphalt shingles on it. And to tear that off, I think we'd be looking at around $15,000. So instead of $50,000, we could save some money there, and not just save it, but maybe use it for something else. But if saving it would be great too. But I know there was absolutely no discussion about that. I think maybe the committee members of the service committee were waiting to talk about it till tonight when everybody was present. So that's what I'm guessing, the reason they didn't come prepared. And then also that snow blower attachment and the brush, I'd like to find out more about that, because I know we do have a plow, which plows the sidewalks, and also a snow blower attachment that does the sidewalks on Cottonwood and Baldwin. So maybe just kind of inform the rest of the residents here what that's for. I think that's it. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else that'd like to address the board? Not seeing anyone, that closes that portion of our agenda. The next item is the consent agenda. The items are listed there. Is there anything that any board member would like to pull off the consent agenda? Motion is in order to approve the consent agenda, first of all.
Mr. Wieringen and I were...
Well, we were both going to say something. Aside from Michael's comment, when I read that today, I thought, I need to be reminded of how we delineate what goes through the consent agenda and what doesn't. For example, the one that had jumped out at me was I guess it was the roof repairs just because of the amount, but in the past, sometimes we've run that as a regular item on the agenda. Sometimes more recently, I'd say more recently in the last year or two, it's maybe been run more through the consent agenda. How do we determine when a motion is in order to have an item specifically motioned, approved, and voted upon versus put in the consent agenda? Is there a guideline for that? Is it a dollar amount? Is it the type of issue going through there? Can anybody give me guidance on that?
All of the above.
Okay. Like a dollar threshold or
It's really a judgment, yeah.
Okay.
And that's why, you have the freedom. If you're in doubt,
Yeah,
it does not take any action of the board. Any individual board member
I see.
can pull it off.
Yeah, and I think by and large, and I've only been at it, it's my 7th year, some of you have been at it longer. If we were going to, hey, we're upgrading one of the trucks, we're getting some extra equipment for the fire department, what have you. I know generally speaking, we've kind of voted on that as a separate line item within the agenda for the meeting. I don't think that always has to be the case, especially if it's de minimis. But I don't think it hurts in a case like tonight's, then based on how you're saying, it's sort of, a judgment call, that if there are some items that maybe are a little bigger dollar value, or that might bear some elucidation before the public say, well, this is why we're getting it. I think that helps keep not only us, but the public informed. So all that to say, it wouldn't bother me any if 5, 6, and 7 were pulled off and at least discussed briefly. And I bet we wouldn't take very long at all to talk about what the need is.
Mr. Chairman, if I might, I guess I'm the chairman, now acting chairman at least, but if I might, in answer to your question, your original question, in the most recent past, when we had the workshop type session, some of those items that appeared, and now even tonight appear in the consent agenda, were items that we discussed.
Right.
And we said, for instance, there's a number of preliminary plat approvals,
Yeah.
and those all came from the Planning Commission. It was a unanimous agreement that we recommend them to the board, and in the past, we've done the same thing.
Yeah.
And so in the most recent past, some of those things were talked about. Now, some of the things that appear here came from a committee.
I see. You nailed it, Rich, because that's what I forgot. I think that's when, in my mind, maybe we changed the practice somewhat in
Correct.
that, hey, we're all meeting together for the work session anyways. We've all discussed this at length in open before the public.
Correct.
Let's just vote, or let's consent to vote.
Right, right.
But now that we're not doing that, yeah, it would bear, sometimes it might be, hey, I'm on the Planning Commission, and here's why we, recommended this, or I'm on Service Committee, and here's what we were thinking. Oh, okay, and that's part of what I know we've tried to eliminate before with the whole work session is,
Right.
well, do we have to repeat all our business in front of the rest of you? Well, to some degree, I guess we kind of do with this style,
Right, and any board member has the prerogative of taking off any item on the consent agenda without debate. I mean, if any one of us wants to pull something off, we can do that, and we place it on the agenda for addressing later on.
Yeah, okay.
Well, let's do 5, 6, and 7.
You already requested that, didn't you?
What's that?
You requested those 3 be...
Yeah, and he maybe felt like we need a second or whatever. You don't?
Well, you don't really need
okay.
that, but you're talking about the electric, just to be clear, the electrical repairs at the cemetery?
Yep.
The
Snow
purchase
blower.
of the snow blower for the Parks Department and the roof repairs at 8th Avenue, correct?
Yes.
All right, all of those items will be put as 11A on the agenda. And now a motion would be in order to approve the consent agenda with those items removed.
So moved.
Is that supported? Moved and supported. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
That is carried. Excuse me, I'm just going down here because there's a number of things on there. The next item, item number 9, this is the resolution of necessity authorizing the acquisition of property by negotiation or eminent domain if necessary. Hopefully you've had an opportunity to read that resolution, so a motion would be in order to approve the resolution.
So move.
Support.
Moved and supported. Any discussion on the resolution?
I thought it was interesting, as an aside, you saw in the news this past week what a big deal they made of Donald Trump's comment about loving eminent domain. Did you see that? And the one clarification I wish they would make, I kept wanting them to make, was the difference between using eminent domain for public purpose or a private purpose. So that if you're taking property from one property owner and giving it to another and saying, hey, you build your condo here instead of the house that existed, people want to be outraged. But if it's for a public purpose, a park, a, what have you,
right.
Well, that's the nature of it. I mean, building a highway, whatever it might be. I don't think the media did a very good job with that. But this happens to be a situation where I got called by the potential defendants, legal counsel, not unofficial legal counsel, and I mean, this really, and Dan can tell you better than I, but this is just a matter of money. This is not one of those where this is, my sentimental attachment. This is about money, and I think the ultimate owners, live on the East Coast, and maybe their relatives nearby. And I'm not suggesting that somehow they have an ill motive. It's just you have a disagreement over money. We made a fair offer. We made every attempt, and you know what? I guess this is the route we'll have to go. But ultimately, as was said, I think even by Mr. Trump, as part of that discussion publicly, people get paid fairly. And if that is really what they're after, in this instance, after money, fair compensation, the system more or less guarantees you're going to get fair compensation, usually north of your appraised value. But I think there's a compelling reason for it here, and I like
this is the parcel off Ridgewood. So
my mistake then.
Yes.
My mistake, because I was thinking the piece on the edge of the lake.
Right, we've already done that.
Very good. All right, well, then just take my commentary on eminent domain for whatever it's worth.
Well, but it's still for public purpose,
so
you're correct in that.
I was thinking of a different property owner, so
this is the parcel approximately, this is not working now either. Here we go. It's approximately in this area right here. They live here off Ridgewood, kind of the street dead ends, and they kind of built off the dead end, and this is their home, and they have a narrow strip. We own this strip here getting to Baldwin. We own it 50 foot wide, and we're liking to connect it right here to connect to the trail going around the lake. So it's the piece missing in between.
Okay, thank you for that clarification. Any other comments? Motion has been made and supported. We have to do a roll call. Go ahead, sir.
I saw that program, and also there was no emphasis on public purpose. It was all private enterprise, which he was very supportive of condemnation or eminent domain for private uses, which he has profited from or used extensively. Yeah, so, but no mention was made of highways, parks, et cetera, et cetera.
To the extent that those that just exited might have been here for this purpose, and I'm not sure who they are.
They were here for the preliminary plat,
I want to
which
make
was
sure
on the
that I
consent
didn't
agenda.
offend in referring to the wrong property owner. It's the same principle, but it's a different person.
No, they were here for... Are we ready to vote? This is a roll call vote. Mr. Schwamm?
Yes.
Mr. Tuttle?
Yes.
Clerk votes yes. Dr. Moore?
Yes.
Mrs. Skolma?
Yes.
Mr. Wieringa?
Yes.
And that's, the resolution is declared adopted. Our next item of business is the rezoning. This is to rezone from low-density residential to agriculture. This is a parcel that's located at 2161 Bauer Road. The Planning Commission met and Mr. Miedema was there to make his request. And at the last board meeting, I believe, we had another similar request that we also approved and the Planning Commission approved. And one of the neighbors to this particular parcel spoke in favor of the rezoning, and Mr. Miedema has operated this as a farm for over 30 years, and so this will give him, off of Bauer Road into the property, will give him entryway there, and so he's asking that the entire piece now be rezoned to agriculture.
I'll move approval.
Support.
Moved and supported.
If no one's going to say anything, I'll say something briefly. I think it's the first time I can recall since I've been on the council that we've gone from a higher density use to a lower density use. It seems with a growing community, it's always the other direction. And we're going from LDR to AG. It's kind of interesting. I mean, I'm fully supportive.
Which is true.
You don't see that very often.
No, you
Trying to
don't.
almost revert back.
We saw it at our last meeting.
Yes, at our last meeting, we saw it, we
Second
just
time.
did it.
Okay,
Do you want to make a comment?
very true.
Just for the record, my name is Gerald Miedema. I live at 8730 24th Avenue, and I own the farm that we're referencing here. And basically, I've had that farm for 30 years, and the property to the east of it as well, which I sold off. And unbeknownst to me, the portions that, the front part of the portion had been zoned LDR, which I was never aware of. Basically, all I wanted to do was just put it back to agriculture because I want to farm it. I've been farming it for years and years, and I just want to have it all back to ag for different reasons, including agricultural reasons and farm programs, et cetera, and all the rest of the stuff. So I came here before the board, before the Planning Commission, had one parcel done. Inadvertently, I forgot I had two parcels that were that way, with driveways going in. And so the board approved the one, and I just had to reapply to get the second one because it was a dumb mistake on my part. I should have done them both at the same time, and that's why I'm standing here. So that should clear it up where I'm at. So I just want to put the whole farm back to what it originally was, and that's what I want to keep it as. So that's my request.
Good, thank you. This is also a resolution because we're changing the ordinance, and so it would be a roll call. Mr. Wieringa? Support. Mrs. Stallman? Yes. Dr. Moore? Yes. Clerk votes yes. Mr. Tuttle? Yes. And Mr. Schwam? Yes. That is also declared approved and adopted. Our next item is item number 11, which is the two columbariums at the cemetery. And so motion would be in order to proceed. Support. Moved and supported. Any comments on this?
Just a question, can we confirm these are going adjacent to or the same location as the existing columbariums?
That's our plan, unless you wanted something different, but it's just, we kind of a plan to extend them a little bit down.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then, in the existing ones, where are we at as far as capacity and occupancy?
We have 4 left that are not sold.
Okay. And how many units will this make available?
96 if you buy 2. There's 48 in each one.
Thank you.
I was surprised that just last year that we sold 17.
Correct. So this year.
This year, so already 17, so people are finding out.
Yes,
We
that's
save a great deal of money if we...
Just for the edification of here on,
The buttons are switched. The buttons in front of you.
Yeah, just for the edification of the people that are here, what I think we built that 4 or 5 years ago, and it was very little usage. Now all of a sudden it's taking off, and I suspect, I can't prove, but I suspect because there are a lot more people today interested in cremation as opposed to even 4 or 5 years ago. And so columbarium, cremains can still be buried in a plot, but opening the grave and so on, from an economic standpoint, a columbarium is less costly.
Any other comments? Motion's made and supported. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Contrary, the same. That's carried. Now we come to the things that we added to the agenda from the consent agenda, and I think probably the best way to deal with these, we'll take them one at a time. There are 3 items. The first one is the electrical repairs at the cemetery. This came as a recommendation from the Services Committee. Does anyone on the Services Committee want to speak to this?
Well, I'll move that we get that on the agenda. I'll move that we approve the bid from Grand Tech in the amount of $6,900 for electrical repairs at the cemetery.
Is that supported?
Support.
Okay, moved and supported.
Well, and we did receive a bid from Grand Tech. We received a bid from Steve Essenberg Electric, and we received a bid from Van Single Electric, which was coincided with the Bauer well drilling. And the committee decided that, and with the help of Rod's advice from before, that Grand Tech would be the one.
Okay, can we maybe, excuse me.
I was just going to say,
I was going to ask if we could just have a brief description of what this electrical work entails.
Well, it's primarily replacing some electrical lines that are already there to operate our irrigation system. And we have a few outlets, but we're having trouble with the electric running, and the equipment's getting old, and we're having to make some significant repairs. So this will replace it to allow our sprinkling system to operate to run the pumps that we do. The stuff is older there, and it's underground, so it's aged, and it's in need of replacement as opposed to repairing it constantly.
Okay, good, thank you. Any other comments on this? Motion's made and supported. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Contrary, the same. That's carried. Then we come to number 6, which is the purchase of the snow blower for the Parks Department. That too was recommended by the Service Committee. Motion would be in order on this one as well to get it on the floor.
So moved.
Support.
Moved and supported to purchase the John Deere snow blower, and the price is there, $9,308.80.
This is actually also, part of it's a brush to brush off the trails. When we have, in the spring, there's a lot of sand and stuff in different areas. We'll be able to clean them also in the cemetery for the driveways. The snowblower need will be able to help us in the sidewalk, but it also will allow us to do a little better job when we're doing winter burials. We're a year-round cemetery, and we're getting busier. And when you're trying to move the snow away from the burials, it's looking for a little better tool to be able to do that. So it is expensive, but it also fits on the John Deere, which limits the bidding that you can do for it.
Just an observation, the motion is written for $9,308.80. The bid's actually for $9,308 even, so although we'll approve this if you make sure they don't get that 80 cents.
Deal.
Anyone else?
Well, and also in that bid, the $5,420 was for the actual snow blower, and the $3,888 was for the brush. And the total then was that amount. That was for the brush and the snow blower.
Okay, thank you.
They also felt that the throwing capacity would be an advantage, especially with deeper snow, that they'd be able to do a better job.
Okay, thank you.
Is it for exclusive use at the cemetery, or is it designed for other places?
Well, it would help in other places. So to answer your question, yes.
Yeah, it would help elsewhere, yeah.
But, they're plowing, and then sometimes when it's deeper, they have to move some stuff. Yes, they would help for that. But the primary is the cemetery and the sidewalks.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. Motion's made and supported. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Contrary, the same. That's carried. Then we come to the third item, which are the roof repairs at the 8th Avenue Park. And a motion would be in order to approve the bid.
Motion to approve the bid.
And is that supported?
Support.
Okay, it's moved and supported, and the motion is to approve the bid from Elcor in the amount of $47,250 for roof repairs at 8th Avenue Park. And again, that's recommended by the Services Committee. Does anyone from the Services Committee want to speak to it? And then we'll ask for clarification.
Well, we had 3 bids on that also, and the Elcor one was the most reasonable one. You were going to check with Rod.
I've got that, yeah.
You did, okay. So, yeah. I don't know if you want to do an
Just
explanation.
a clarification, perhaps. All of the new pavilions we're putting in are of the metal construction with a metal roof. Is this the same look and consistent with that, or is this a different look? Or
This is the attempt to have that same look to match the parks, to improve the appearance of the parks. That's why the metal roof.
And
It
what's the
is
estimated life expectancy on a metal roof?
longer. I'm not sure, I think I have no idea the extended length, but significantly longer than shingles.
Right.
I did a little research on that, and in essence, it's not really a cost saving either way. Metal roof is just about twice the cost of asphalt. Most of the asphalts that are put on, there's a 10-year guarantee. They will say 20, and that's true, but the kicker usually it's 10 years, and then it's 2% reduction for every year after 10. The metal roof, they don't quite dare say forever, but it's plus 50 years plus. Also looking at most parks, not just in Georgetown, but other parks, that seems to be the pattern, metal roofs. So at least longevity-wise, it's going to be a break even. Well, it probably wouldn't be a break even, because if you put a new asphalt roof on in 20 years from now, it's going to be much more costly.
There's a new section and an older section of shingles that are on the roof. I believe there's also been some rot damage. And then associated with this is putting some netting up underneath to help prevent birds from getting up under there.
Any other comments? Okay, the motion's made and supported. If there are no other comments, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Contrary, the same, and that is also carried. That takes us to our next item on the agenda, which is the second public comment time. If you'd like to address the board, you have 3 minutes to do so. Again, state your name and your address, come to the podium, and address the board.
Hello, John Cade, 7869 Parkside Court. Just a simple question. Maybe Dan may be the one to answer this. With our new $42,000 sign that's going out in front, do we know a timetable when it will actually be installed? Thank you.
No, it's supposed to be completed by August, so we're delayed. They tell us it's in production now, so it should be done soon, but I'm not sure what timetable that will be, so I don't have a good date yet, and a little bit of frustration. They have got the other signs all done, but this one here is a little bit harder.
Is there
So,
anyone else who'd like to address the board?
Michael Bosch, 896 Fairwood Court. I just want to thank you guys for going through the motions on that and having a little discussion about the snow blower and the brush. I guess the question I would have had was, how often do we use that? And I think Dan said the brush we use a couple times a year, and up until now we've been renting it. So I don't know, I guess if I was doing my due diligence, I would say, what do we use this, 3 times a year, 4 times a year? How much is it costing us? Is it worth it? I mean, and that other snow blower, do we get rid of that one now, or is this replacing the old snow blower that was doing sidewalks on Baldwin?
the other snowblower hooks on the bombardier,
Okay.
so it's quite a bit bigger, heavy equipment than to go on the grass in the cemetery. So that will still be available to help with the sidewalks. yeah.
And what were we doing for snow removal before? Did they handheld 2-stage or something?
Right.
Okay, so that worked. How many burials do we do a winter? 50, 100, 1,000, 10?
Well, we do about a little over 200 a year, so around 200 a year, so I'm guessing a quarter of those.
And these are the questions I would be asking. I'm not going to tell you guys how to do your job or anything, but if it were me, that's what I'd say is, do we need to spend it? Could we use that money to offset what are we, 150,000 over budget already on the senior center? So it's coming 1.65 million. So that'd be good money to slush over there to take care of that, or to support the ice arena with the deficit that runs every year. I'm just, trying to think outside the box. And as far as the 8th Avenue roof, asphalt shingles, they're a lifetime warranty. And I'm not sure what, I mean, I've got them on my roof. That's an outdoor enclosure, so it's, I mean, if it leaks, what's the worst that happens? A picnic table gets wet? So, and I'm thinking the shingles are shingles. They keep the water off. I'd say let's gamble it. You know, a 50-year metal roof. So we're going to get 50 years out of an asphalt shingle. So let's just do it. It's 8th Avenue Park. Nobody even sees it. Half the residents don't even know we have a park there. So that's just me. And also with a snow blower and brush, we only got one bid, and I think in the service committee, Carol did bring that up. Hey, we only got one bid. We usually get a few. And that was fantastic. I like to see that. Good eye. But is there only one John Deere dealership in the United States of America? I know there's one in Allendale. How about we just kind of price check it to keep them honest? And I'm not saying that they're trying to make an extra buck, but hey, let's get a few bids like we typically do. I like to see local business getting the money, but we don't have a track record of doing that anyway. So, I mean, it's great that we do, but if it's only a couple $100 more to use them, let's do it. If we can save $500 or $1,000 using Allendale, well, let's do it. Let's get 3 bids, 3 different places. And then the last thing was eminent domain. In that one, I was thinking it was the path along the water there, but it's the trees. So you're going to steal the guy's land, or I mean, bend him, or force him to sell you his land so you can spend more money for a pathway. And how is that pathway going to? I know that idea is to connect it to Woodcrest or whatever. How is it going to go across Cottonwood? I mean, it just seems silly to spend that money. We're going to have attorney fees wrapped up with the eminent domain. I mean, I know we got a track record of blowing money, but come on.
Anyone else to address the board? Not seeing anyone, then we'll go to our next item on the agenda, which is discussion and general information by the board. And I'm going to ask Rod to give us just a little overview of what's happening with our senior center at the moment. Rod?
Thank you. Actually wanted to give you a construction update, starting with Rosewood Park. So this is showing the west side of the park above the soccer bowl. So just some new curbing, some 8-foot sidewalk that goes all the way around the park. This is the new play area that went in last week. They're working on the rubber surface this week, tore out the old from the old play area and are redoing it all to match between the 2 play areas. This is the handicap ramp that goes up to the play structure, which is kind of a neat addition. I think it'll help the usage and makes the park more user-friendly. And then this is just a shot from out in the parking lot showing the old play structure and the new. Right in the middle here is where the mini splash pad will go. This area here, you can see the raised curb is where there'll be 4 big trees, and then this is the start of the bathroom facility. Where we are with that is the contractor is supposed to have the parking lot ready and the bathroom ready by the time snow falls, so we should be good to go there. This is moving out to the senior center. This is the path around 8th Avenue Lake, and this is the retaining wall they put in. So it's 2 6-foot sections built up so that we could have a nice perch with the building above the lake. This is from the old parking lot looking into the new. So they've started the curb work. Started that last week, working on it again this week. This is the south side of the building, and these piers are for the roof overhang. And it will be all concrete through here. So a nice spot to sit and look over the lake. This shows some of the interior wall footings, so they're making headway there too. And then just a couple shots of the view. This is south facing, so 8th Avenue Park's right over here. And one more, this is southeast facing. And then you may remember we had 60 Baldwin and 62 Mill Street that we were demoing. That was 60 Baldwin. This is 62 Mill, and this next shot is what that lot looks like now. So nice open. They need to do the final grade on it yet and get the grass seed down. But next spring, this should be a nice grassy area for us. Any questions?
Okay. Thank you, Rod. Does anyone have any questions? Appreciate the update. Thank you very much. Are there any other board members who have any discussion or general information?
Just a quick comment. A week ago, Friday, we had a team building exercise with Granville, and Granville and their schools and the city council. It went very, very well. We had about 35 people that participated, and heard terrific comments, particularly with the Chamber of Commerce. They would like to see this continue. And Mayor Moss had suggested that we do something possibly as a board even this winter if we wanted to. And one of the thoughts was possibly with our new park, Rosewood Park, and the bathrooms, maybe having some type of community sliding get-together, bonfire, just a thought. I think the bonding opportunity and the chance to talk to people that we share such common interest and we share the bend in the river is a terrific opportunity for us. So I hope we'll consider that. Chad had a friendly kayak race against Mayor Moss, and I appreciate Rich made some very kind comments, kind of recapping everything, along with Tom Tenbrink from Jenison Schools, and Carol set up a terrific speaker with John Schultz. And John informed us about the green belt, and he believes that in 3 to 5 years we may see a pathway that will go right through Georgetown. And with the new bridge that's being built out by the Coopersville area, they purposely put a pathway across that bridge. It cost them a great deal of money to do that, so that you'll be able to go from one side of the river to the other side of the river with the pathway system, and then bend over here to the Georgetown Granville area. He was fascinating. So it was, I thought, an excellent exercise for us, and I certainly appreciate it. And I know at that time, Dr. Moore, your wife was having a knee operation, and Marilyn was doing well. But
I felt I had a wage, which is more important.
Good choice.
that was wise.
I was in court at the
But
time,
thank
couldn't
you.
make it. I'd like to know if you dusted Mayor Moss or not.
Now, officially, we tied.
They kind of
Okay.
pulled
We
it
hit
at
the shore at the
time.
same time.
I see. And Ron dumped, did I hear?
Yes, right at the
Yes.
On exiting the kayak.
One person got wet.
Oh, not Ron, huh?
Yeah,
Or-
Ron got wet.
It was Ron.
Yeah.
No, I think what John Schultz had shared, though, that I found most interesting was that the state DNR has been exploring creating the water pathway down the Grand River, and in fact, he mentioned that the leadership, the folks that run the DNR in Lansing had been down doing a tour of the Grand River through the Grand Rapids area out towards Grand Haven, and that they had stopped and met him at Grand River Park and explored the kayak launch and other things, and that he said that it is a goal of the state to create that water pathway down the Grand River for kayakers or others that would want to travel the distance of it.
That's cool.
It's a beautiful area, particularly this time of the year. I like it either. I've canoed it several times, all the way to the M45 bridge from Granville with my boys. 2 opportune times. In the spring, because the water's high, the current's swift, you don't have to paddle as much. It'll carry you down. Plus, you can go up and visit a lot of homes right alongside the river because they're all flooded. And then in the fall now, it's just beautiful. So I can see that's going to be a very... The people think it's not a clean river, but what you're seeing there, the brown color, is all silt and mud that's carried down. It tests as a very clean river.
Good.
I got to kayak with Todd from our clean water plant, and he is such a professional. And his heart, he lives and breathes that river and the water quality. He says the water that they put in is cleaner than what is coming down, and that the E. coli level meets standards for swimming. He was very, very informative. I mentioned to him that we did have some complaints about the smell that disturbed him, but he said since we put the new line coming down Chicago Drive, they have some pockets where a different type of bacteria has built up that they need to treat, and he feels any type of smell like that is temporary. And plus, they had a shutdown about 3-4 weeks ago that could have caused some type of smell. But they're addressing it, and they also have a construction company that is going through their system to make sure that that type of thing doesn't happen. Very, very professional man. And I think we're in good hands with him. He was very startled that there was some concern about the smell from the plant. They feel they have that under control.
I pass that plant probably 4 times a week, and I have never smelled it. Wyoming, or Grand Rapids, when I go down Market Street, occasionally I get an odor there. But I think with the new digester that's in there, which is not very common throughout the state, and also, as we've said before, 80% of the time, winds are from the south or southwest, which carries that across the river. Most likely, when you're going to get smell, is we get north winds now in the winter, but everyone's windows are closed in the winter.
He said their cost is about twice the amount of, they put a different type of potassium, I believe it was potassium, into the system that costs about twice as much, but it literally, they feel, prevents the odor, but they said that Wyoming uses something a little different. It's not as expensive, and that's why you'll notice that along the highway occasionally.
Anything else?
I would just encourage, because there was some concern about the asphalt, and I would, if you get some time, go online, look at shingling, and yes, all the sellers of shingling say lifetime warranty, and then afterwards look at what the description is. It's not your lifetime, it's the lifetime of the shingles is the warranty, and they have a determined lifetime. Read it. It'll give you some ideas.
Okay. Anything else for discussion?
A couple of quick things. One, I appreciated seeing that the Services Committee had commissioned to send out brochures and invitations to restaurants within an hour of Georgetown that they consider our property here and the liquor license and so on and so forth. It seems something obvious that you would like to think that, is it Collier's that we have, is doing, and maybe they have, but maybe not quite as direct, I don't know. But I was grateful that you guys are doing that. I think that's just a smart idea.
Jim, we're going to include in that a brochure from the Chamber of Commerce, and it's titled Open for Business, and it's very, very well done.
Good.
And it promotes both Granville and Georgetown, but it's impressive.
Great.
So that'll go along with the letter that was drafted, and I think it looks professional. And it also states that we have 31 liquor licenses for sit-down restaurants.
Great. The only other thought I had was in seeing that picture of the pole barn or building that was taken down there near the exit down there, and now with eminent domain proceeding with this property, that I would just encourage the board to continue to think about, as we experience the process of eminent domain, and provided it goes as planned and expected and so on, there's a fair and just reasonable compensation, that we'd consider at least keep an open mind toward that same process with those couple of warehouses that yet exist there on the, the south side as you exit or enter, the highway there. I think it'd make a really nice welcome to Georgetown area. And if they've gotten that smell under control and so on, it just makes for it is a nice entryway. So it could be nicer.
Okay. Anything else? The next item on our agenda is to go into a closed session for the annual review of the superintendent. I'll entertain a motion to go into closed session.
So moved.
Is that supported?
Support.
Moved and supported. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. We will go into closed session for the annual review of the superintendent. And when we come out of closed session, we may act on the superintendent contract.
If I may, Mr. Chairman,
Sure.
just for the edification of the public, this is one reason that we can go into closed session. However, we must have a request from the superintendent that it be in closed session. If not, it would be an open session. I do have a written request from the superintendent that his evaluation be held in closed session. Now, any action that we take with the superintendent's contract must be in public, but the discussion of his evaluation instrument can be done, and also discussion with him can be done in closed session.
A motion would be in order to come out of closed session,
So moved.
and that's supported. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
That is carried. So now we're back in regular session, and as we stated when we left, that we were meeting to do the review of the evaluation for the superintendent, which we did do, and therefore I, based on that review and the input of the board members, I would make a motion that we extend the contract for the superintendent as discussed, which means an additional year, and I would move that, Mr. Chairman.
Support.
I guess I'm the chair. I keep forgetting that. Moved and supported. Any other comments that any board member would like to make?
I only say publicly what allows us to privately, which is that we really appreciate Dan a great deal, and he's done a tremendous job. He shows a willingness to grow in his position, learn to impart knowledge in a way that is very user-friendly both to the public as well as to this board, and we're very fortunate to have him and Rod. Rod, you're doing a great job. So I know I'm only echoing the sentiments and doing so, but I wanted people to know that publicly. So.
Yeah, thanks, Jim. I think we have a great team in Dan and Rod. And I think one of the things that I appreciate about you, Dan, is that you have a genuine heart for the township. And that comes through on a consistent basis. So, and that's a very, for me, that's a very significant thing. So thank you.
Well, and I think what I'd like to add, what's been most helpful to me is to have, I call it a source of truth, but basically unbiased information, somebody who doesn't have a political slant one way or the other, but whose job it is just to make sure that the board has accurate information with which to make decisions. That's something that I don't know how you function without that source of truth, and I know in other communities where they don't have a position like Dan's, it's you see partisan politics sneak in where somebody's got the information and others have their own information, and I think in this case Dan's able to answer our questions, answer the public's questions, and he doesn't necessarily have a dog in the fight. It's just, you know, let's make sure that the information's out there and then whatever the board's will is. So I've always appreciated that about Dan.
Yeah, I have no idea how the rest of the board that functions as far as the trustees, but I know the clerk, the treasurer, and the supervisor are here pretty much every day, and both he and Rod become an invaluable source of information, or you want information, they will secure it for you, which I really appreciate.
Well, I would just echo that, and I thank Dan for having an open door policy. If there's a concern or something that's not real clear, he will get the information for us. He will sit down, he'll explain things in detail. If information is not readily available, he'll find it shortly after that. Very, very conscientious. And I think it was very successful with our senior center, with both Rod and Dan working together. The seniors had only positive comments, and they feel real ownership because of both of their leaderships on just that one project. And I think it's going to be exciting as we look at other challenges that we're facing, particularly with the library. I think we've got a good team here that is working, and they've been very fruitful and good for our township.
Good. Thank you, John. Well, the motion's made and supported. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Contrary, the same. That is unanimously carried. The chair declares the meeting adjourned.